Welcome to Keep What You Earn, a show for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to scale and build enterprise value without making costly mistakes. I'm your host, Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CFO and CPA who left a career serving Fortune 50 companies in Wall Street to help business owners just like you make life-changing wealth with your business. These episodes are meant to be super tactical and actionable, but please remember, consult your own financial professional before you implement anything you learn in this podcast. Now, if you'd be interested in working with us to do so, check out the show notes for more information about our company, Keep What You Earn Co. All right, let's start the show. All right. Hey, Pam, welcome to the show. So happy to have you.
So pumped to be here. It's going to be a great conversation. Love it.
I know. I need you guys to understand how cool Pam is as a CFO, and that's coming from me. I consider myself semi-cool. Pam is amazing. And I'm dying to dive into your background. Now, You spent over 20 years working in corporate finance. So just to be clear, you are a CFO, not a CPA, and you said on purpose. I want to dig into that, but I want to hear more about your history in corporate finance and why you decided to go down this path of really just embedding yourself in the finance world.
Yeah. And my background is not in Big Four. My background is working it was actually a general contracting company. And ultimately, we built that company to multiple million, 99 employees, and it had to file bankruptcy. Lots of decisions that were made, but ultimately the business owner just took his hand off the wheel. All of a sudden, we were in bankruptcy court. And it came down to the fact of the business was going to close. The banks weren't going to let it, the banks just wanted their money and weren't going to be patient. And so then I had to go get a job. And I was like, this is not what I want. And so I learned about the thing of a fractional CFO because I was actually on a job interview. And I was sitting down and across the table were two men. And one of them was the business owner and the other guy was the CFO, but he wasn't an employee. And I walked out of that interview and I completely ignored the owner. And I was like, can I have your card? And I went and I had coffee with the fractional CFO. And I was like, tell me about this thing called fractional CFO. Like, what does that mean? What do you do? And afterwards, I was like, I can totally do that. Like, that's exactly what my experience is. Fractional CFO. That makes sense.
I love that. What was it that made you kind of click and say, I can totally do that? Like, what about your experience or your desire? Like, how did you align with that title or label or function?
Because it was a forward-looking view of the business and the financials. And it wasn't being a controller and making sure things reconciled or being a bookkeeper and coding things. It was guiding and advising the owner to take their business forward. And that made sense to me because that's what I'd been doing. I'd been doing forecasts and budgets and cash forecasts and job costing and all these things and realizing, hey, the ship's going down. Hello, and nobody's listening. And so it made sense that like the skill set that I had could be transferable in this thing called fractional CFO.
Love it. And let's talk about not a CPA on purpose thing because you love working in finance. You have the skill set for it. A lot of people associate that with, okay, great. Then like either pursuing a CPA license or looking for someone who has one to align with. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I started just as a fractional CFO. It was trading time for money, and tax wasn't even in their purview. I do have my MBA, and that was very helpful for me, knowledge-wise, and as well as people just like numbers behind your name, and they think it's important. And so then as I started doing more fractional CFO work, I realized the role that tax plays in what we do and looked into it and really decided I could become a CPA, but I want to focus on what I enjoy doing and what I'm good at, and I don't need to go get my CPA. And what I also learned is CPAs, it's a whole process and a certification and CEUs, and that's a pain in the butt. And then also they're beholden to the IRS, and there's limits and cautions as to what they can say and can't say. And as an MBA without a CPA, I can say whatever the crap I want to a client. And it's like, I tell people, don't make your quarterly estimated tax payments. That's super dumb. And like a CPA is supposed to tell you to make your quarterly estimated tax payments because that's what the IRS wants.
Ditto. I tell people not to do it too.
Right. And so I decided not to get my CPA. However, I do have CPAs on my team. But because now our practice has grown and the firm now does bookkeeping and cleanup work and tax strategy and tax filing. So I have enrolled agents and CPAs on my team, but I sure as heck ain't one.
I love that too, because it's also like you're not trying to be everything yourself. As you add these services into your scope, as opposed to having to add it to your stack of skills, you're just like, I'm just going to align with smart people who already know how to do this. This is what my clients need. There you go. I think a lot of business owners in particular, we have firm owners like us, right? And understanding the needs of your customer without trying to be everything to everyone.
Correct. And I think you need to stay in your zone of genius. Like, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Then just double down and do that. And then build a team of people who are smart and intelligent, the who, not how concept, that can do those things operationally, strategically, tax-wise, bookkeeping. Like, can I code and reconcile? Abso-freaking-lutely, but I don't want to. So I have a whole team of bookkeepers that do it.
Right. Exactly. And when you're first starting out, obviously you're wearing many hats and doing a lot of those things yourself in the beginning stages, but pretty much one of the first things you should probably do is hire out a lot of those things and make sure that you have the support to get that done. Otherwise, you're never going to grow.
Yeah. When I was just a solo shop, within 6 months, I realized I needed to hire. And that first hire was a bookkeeper because I wanted to stay at the CFO level and I didn't want to get into the weeds. And so I had to bring on a bookkeeper to help do the cleanup work and make sure the books were current and coded and all of that. She later turned into more operational and all of that. But my first hire was someone to do the books so that I could stay in the seat that I wanted to stay in.
Right. And I want to talk too about when we're differentiating CPAs and CFOs and all this stuff, it's all commingled because business owners listening right now are like, this is all just alphabet soup of certifications and things. And like, who do I need for what? Everybody is kind of positioning themselves now as CFO. I feel we're leaning in that direction, especially with AI taking over a lot of the redundant task-oriented work. People are leaning into this label of CFO and they're labeling what they do as strategy. What I'm seeing though, and I want your take on this, is packaging as strategy, but it's a lot of the same stuff. Like it's a lot of the same accounting firm work in a nicer box, we'll say.
Correct.
So what's your take on like this trend we're seeing and how to differentiate for a business owner, whether you're getting real CFO services or you're getting something in a pretty box?
So it's a good question because there are a lot of bookkeepers, controllers, tax people that are now saying that they do strategy. All they're doing is connecting your QuickBooks to an AI software, and the AI software is printing out pretty reports. That's not strategy. That's not a CFO. A CFO, in my opinion, takes where you are, understands where you've been, understands what your goals are, and helps draft a roadmap to get you there. And so is a forward-looking view of your business and your books and your numbers all tied in with what your goals are. Where a CPA, an accountant, a bookkeeper is going to tell you what happened last month. While that's helpful, that doesn't necessarily help you decide, can I hire that marketing person? Can I hire and afford that salesperson? And that's where a CFO, it's the change in perspective. It's looking out the front window instead of the rearview mirror of your business. That's what a CFO does. Your goal is to exit in 5 years for $10 million. Fantastic. Right now, where are we? Bookkeeper, tell me where we are. Amazing. Okay. Here's the problems that you have. Here's how we're going to fix them. Here's the numbers. Client, which way do you want to go? What decisions do you want to make that happen? Because as CFOs, we're guides. We are not solving the problem. We are not saving the day. We are not making the decisions for you. We are doing the analysis. We are putting the tools together, and we are connecting that with your goal and what success and freedom means, and then giving you options on how to get there.
Yeah, the way I put it too is I'm not taking the wheel from your hands, but I am sitting in the front seat as your navigator.
For sure. Like I'm the co-pilot with the map.
Right. And I said, the problem is I see too, is a lot of founders, business owners just go, take the keys, take the wheel. I'll be in the trunk. Don't tell me where we end up. Have you seen that before? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That never ends well. They don't like where they end up because I'm like, well, you took your hands off the wheel and you let me drive, but I have zero idea where I'm driving. So I'm just going, like, I'm just driving forward because I don't know what direction you want to move in. And that's a not a good relationship with a CFO, is if you just say, well, you're the expert, you know more than me, you do it, right? But I understand the sentiment though. Like, I understand the business owner's perspective, as do you. Like, they're not experts in this stuff. And it's tough making decisions. And sometimes you really do, as business owners ourselves, like, let's be real, we want people just to tell us what to do. I miss that. I'm just like, don't make me make I'm done with decisions. Someone tell me what to do, right? Just tell me the answer. I'm tired. And I get that. But also, I think you can't let go of the reins and the control of your own business, because there's no way even your CFO can care about your money more than you do.
No. And that's why when those type of clients, we try to let go of the wheel, we're like, okay, you got two options. You either hold on to the wheel or we're getting out of the car. Like, I'm not driving this thing at all. Like, here's your options. Here's our recommendations. Which one do you want? And they're like, I don't know. Okay, well, let's walk through each option. I don't know. Okay. It's your business. You can either keep driving and not make a decision, and in 6 weeks you're going to be out of cash, or you can do one of these things. Here's what each one of those, that we do scenarios. So like, here's what the numbers are going to look like if you do each one of these things. You need to pick. And we recently had a client that we had to part ways with just because she wasn't listening and she wasn't doing what we were saying. And we had the scenarios, we had the forecast, and we're like, okay, sweetie, we love you. You're amazing. When you're out of money in 6 weeks, we wish you well.
Exactly. You can't. And the hard part is, like, you can't absorb any of that, like, fault or blame, or you want to celebrate alongside the client, but also, and you have a vested interest in it. You're rooting for them. We say we cheerlead and challenge, right? You want to make sure that you're being honest with them and having those tough conversations, because that's what will serve the business owner in the long run. And basically, I go, when you hire us, you're hiring someone to tell you that you're kind of fucking up, and to be honest with you, if you are. Yeah. And let's talk about those tough conversations, because I think you're really good at those tough conversations, because you also have this, like, again, the bless your heart layer, right? Like the North Carolinian.
Yes.
There's and I'm a Bostonian. I got to, like, be careful.
Yeah.
But it's
blast them.
Right. But it's a delicate balance of like truth with a layer of love, right? And I want to know how you handle those tough conversations that are a little bit more delicate, because this is their business, their baby. It's emotional, it's stressful, and breaking bad news from a CFO. Let's talk about that. Like, how do you approach, we'll say, that type of bad news? Like, I know, it's cheeky to say, like, sweetie, when you're out of cash in 6 weeks, right? But, like, how does that conversation really go with your clients in terms of, how you approach it and how they receive it?
I'm pretty much direct, just like that. Like, okay. I don't sugarcoat it. Like, I'm not here to make you feel good about yourself. If you want a therapist, get a therapist. If you want a business coach, get a business coach. Like, we are your CFOs. And if you are screwing up at a rapid pace and about to blow something up, I'm just going to tell you. Like, I had one client, his goal was to get a beach house, and he took the hand off the wheel of business. And one of our other CFOs was assigned to him, because I don't do fulfillment. Well, I have a client, but all of our other clients are fulfilled by other members of my team. Mm-hmm. And so the CFO on my team came and said, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, he didn't look at any of the KPIs, any of the benchmarks. And so I got on a call with him and I'm like, you just lost your beach house because you didn't pay attention to the whiteboard in the hall outside your office that you walk by multiple times a day that went red 3 weeks ago.
Yep. There you go.
Good job. Right. So what are you going to do about it? Right. And so the deal is I can be a little nicer if I need to be, depending on the person that's in front of me. And gender doesn't matter. Some guys are very emotionally driven. Some women are, very task driven, and so they don't care about emotion. And so part of our process is really to gauge, like, am I talking to an emotionally driven person or a task driven person? And if you're task driven, then I can just tell you you're screwing up at a rapid pace and you're about to blow up your company. And if you're emotionally driven, I'll kind of sandwich it with, like, let me just remind you how far you've come, blah, 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 like some emotional.
Don't put this at stake. Don't do this,
right.
And also how people receive the feedback. This is what's going to happen if you continue down this path. And I think even it's almost like a business doctor in a way. Like you have to be straightforward and say, I'm sorry, you have this problem. And you can't sugarcoat it or dance around it. And in fact, in thinking about that, I think medical professionals even now are getting a little soft around that stuff. It's like, just tell me what's going on. Just tell me what's
Yeah.
happening.
Like, do you
What
have
is
to
it
cut it
happening?
off, or is it like,
Yeah,
do I have an infection? Like, let me
yeah,
know. And
exactly.
so with our clients, depending on how we gauge their personality and their personal needs, like if we can be direct, we're just direct. And if we need to be more emotional, that it's like compliment, remind them how far they've come, break the news clearly, and then, but it's going to be okay because we're here to help you. You're
Yeah,
not alone. Because money is a very emotional thing for people. I call it money trauma. Everyone has money trauma at some level. 5-year-old you defined what money was because of how your parents talked about money and your community and your church and whatever. So, however that is, it defines who you are as a business owner. And you could still be living in money trauma as a business owner, and it limits you. And so a lot of times I don't fix your money trauma, but I'm all about identifying it. And then I have people that can mind voodoo you out of it, that'll like hypnotherapy, MDMA, whatever, to get
right,
you out of whatever money trauma you got that your dad said to you,
right.
Um, but as CFOs, if you're not having the hard conversations with your clients, you're failing.
I agree. And I think people avoid those hard conversations because we associate client service with good news.
A CFO tells the truth because the numbers tell a story and numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're either winning or losing, and we've got to tell that to the client. And it doesn't matter if it hurts their feelings.
Yes. And there's a lot of that with the corporate backgrounds too that I think kind of, ruin the perception of like, well, I have to give good news for the results and I have to show like there's so much pressure to perform and there's so much pressure for the company to perform and the business to perform. And I think a lot of people measure the success of their CFO and CFOs measure their own success by the numbers, by the growth, by the cash flow or whatever the metrics are. And I think we get away from measuring it in the form of, are you better off because this person's in your business, whether it be financial or not? Talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you measure if a CFO is doing their job, even if, maybe the numbers aren't moving in the right direction?
Absolutely. So we actually have a tool that when a client comes into our sphere, we rate them in the areas that a CFO can help. And then 6 months in, we rate them again. And it's not just numbers driven. It's not, is there more money in the bank? It's, do you understand your break even point? Are you taking regular distributions? Do you know how much money you're paying a month on interest to carry your debt? Right. And so a lot of the metrics that we gauge are money driven, but it's not like if a client comes to us and they're an absolute dumpster fire, I can't save the day in 6 months, but I can make sure that you understand your break even point. I can make sure you understand your gross profit margin. I can make sure you understand your net profit margin, even if it's negative. Right. And so we have a tool that visually shows how they're doing. And as a CFO department, we just had a meeting this week and we just had some check-ins with clients at the 6-month mark, and they had a 30% increase in their score based on how far they've come. And it's a really good way to show the client, look, when we started, you were here and now you're here. We are making improvements, even if it's not more money in the bank.
Right. And that's really important too to notice because I think any business owner, including CFOs and including, basically any business owner or anyone that's participating in this growth, you have to keep track of, it's almost like recording your weight in a weight loss journey, like making sure you're keeping track of the progress. And because it can feel like micro steps and it can feel like it's not a lot of progress. And then one day you look in the mirror or one day you put your pants on and you're like, oh, an extra belt loop, right? And then you go, when did that happen? And the fun part is when you're going along the way and going, yeah, we just did that. Like the little things, like choosing this over this, or, being aware of something and making a decision. Like we try to celebrate that with clients so that they're encouraged to continue that behavior, right?
100%. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Shannon here, and I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying this podcast and enjoying this episode, please leave us a review on your podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, any of them, and let us know if you're enjoying the show. One of your biggest takeaways, we would really, really appreciate it. Okay, back to the show.
So that's the biggest thing I think is I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about what a CFO does, contributed by a couple things. One is we're not miracle workers that just overhaul your business overnight. Then just by having a CFO, you're suddenly better. Although I will say this, we have gotten feedback from clients though, that simply having the accountability layer of knowing that they have that person looking at it has made them behave differently and more aware. It's like somebody who's watching you measure your weight and you're like, I got to go to the gym because I got to go to my Weight Watchers meeting on Sunday and I'm going to embarrass myself in front of everybody, right? It's a little bit of shame motivation. A little bit,
exactly.
But it works.
It's the accountability, because if we talked about your pricing needs to increase and you know that in 2 weeks we're going to have a conversation and you haven't increased your pricing, it's motivation of like, oh crap, they're going to get on me. Okay, I'm going to do the price list right now.
Exactly. And you have to have a little bit of that fear that we're going to get on you. And we have to actually live up to that. We have to actually challenge and say, where's the price? Where's the price increase? Like, why didn't you do that? And that's a really interesting thing. I think it also brings up that dynamic of maybe there is something going on with your business by having us here. And if you don't listen to us, that can cover something else too, where it's like, maybe you didn't want the help and you wanted somebody to come in and just like, whoop, save the day, damsel in distress style. And It's like, no, you got to save yourself, but we can just tell you how.
And we have that conversation from the beginning engagement with our client. Mm-hmm. From the sales call, we explain the power that comes with having a fractional CFO, but we are super clear that it ain't easy. Mm-hmm. Throughout the journey, when we do our launch, we remind them. We did an in-person launch with a client just this week, and I sat down at their table and I just reminded them, as a reminder, like we said, this is work. This is not easy. We're going to have hard discussions with you about your business, but knowing what your goals are, it's going to be worth it.
Yes. And knowing what your goals are is key. I think that there's a couple of things too that I see. One is we ask what their goals are, right? We ask clients what their goals are, but there's always digging we have to do, because I think there's a lot of pressure on business owners to define goals in dollars and cents or in some type of financial metric. Can you tell us about a few of the goals that you've seen come across your desk from clients so that people can find their version of this? Because I talk about it a lot on the show in terms of defining your goals, but I think people already try to quantify it before we even ask it. And like, no. Like the real, like why? I turn into a toddler. Why? Tell us about what you've encountered.
Yeah, we dive really deep into goals. And the numerical goals are the first thing out of their mouth. And I'm like, I don't care that you want to be a $5 million company. I want to know why that number. And a lot of times we really dig into like, okay, you're 80 years old on your front porch, watching your grandkids. Where are you sitting? Are you at your beach house? Are you your cabin in the mountains? Are you in Costa Rica at your investment property? Like, what does I made it look like? And then we reverse engineer from there. I've had clients that one guy, his goal was to get an in-ground pool. He had a boatload of kids and they lived out in Arizona and he wanted a pool. I'm like, okay, fantastic. How much does a pool cost? All right, well, here's what you're bringing home a month now. We got to increase profitability. And because we do profit first, not with all of our clients, but with this particular one. Okay, well, within 5 profit distributions, you'll have enough money for the pool. And fantastic, he got his pool. I've had one guy, his dad never supported him as an entrepreneur and said, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never have any money. And he wanted $2 million so that he could give his dad the finger. And so we made a plan and we got him built up $2 million in his portfolio and in his business assets. And he went and showed his dad his financial statement and gave his dad the finger and said, I showed you, and then we have clients that want to exit because they're ministry minded and want to do things for their church or nonprofit organizations. And so they want to sell for a large amount so that they can create a nonprofit foundation and then do what their passion is to help people. Fantastic. So some people, just want the in-ground pool, and some people want to build houses in South Africa. It just, like, I see everything. But most of the time, to your point, you keep having to ask why. Because the first answer out of their mouth isn't really it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a time as a CFO where you have to guide them to make a hard decision. And if you don't understand what their drive is and what's important to them, they're not going to be empowered to make that decision. They're going to be disabled by it. So you've got to understand why it's important for them to have financial time freedom and money freedom, so that they have the courage to take the step to fire the person or close the location or stop providing that service that's not profitable, or to make the huge price increase, or to fire that client that's not serving them.
Exactly. There has to be a bigger why behind those types of issues, so that they know that's part of the process on the path to something. And that's a huge, huge piece of it. And what's funny is it's also not our business to judge their goals, or to tell them their goals are good, bad, one way or the other, or have any type of adjective for them, honestly. It's really about just how do we get that for them, or how do we help them achieve that. And I love it because one of the clearest goals is exactly what you described with the guy who wanted to give his dad the finger. And I'm like, that's super crystal clear. Let's go make that happen. No judgment. So if anybody is listening to that and going, that's hilarious, like, I can't believe he wanted to do that. And it's like, I don't care. Like, that's what you want to do? Cool. Now I have a destination to program in my GPS. Let's go.
Exactly. And as a CFO, I can then craft a plan to get that much money, in your portfolio and in your business to make that happen.
Great analogy. If I'm the Uber driver taking you to your destination, I go, I ain't judging you if I'm dropping you at the strip club. You paid my fare. It's exactly it. It's like you can't attach that. And it's so true. As long as it's clear where we're going, I'm cool. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Exactly. And one thing that I have to tell you guys, when I met you a few years ago, but the last time we met up, we were at a conference, and Pam actually gave a talk. She's an amazing speaker, by the way. So if you have a conference coming up or anything going on, she's an amazing speaker. It's like, get her on a stage. She's so funny. But what we did was we had a talk that she gave where we went through some of the key things CFOs should be doing in the beginning stages of an engagement. And we absorbed a lot of this advice too. And we're very inspired by this. And this is a really, really important point, that if you're listening right now and your books are a shit show. So basically, if you're listening right now, because everyone's books are kind of a shit show. It's just a matter of how much. But a lot of people are hesitant to hire a CFO because they're afraid to let someone into the shit show. They know that things are a mess. They're afraid of investing in this person because they know, how much can they really do if my books are this messy? And they're going to make me do a cleanup project, and they're going to make me do all this stuff, and I'm not going to get much value out of them for 3 or 4 months because they're going to spend all this time cleaning up my books. And if you can't see the video, Pam is shaking her head like her neck's going to fall off. So let's turn the tables on that. Let's talk about what should you be expecting out of your CFO when you hire them, so that you're getting your money's worth, number one. And number two, that you are marching them in the right direction to serve your business.
Yeah. So when you first engage with a CFO, you should expect them to try to learn and understand your business, understand your goals, but also to learn and understand your business. Because even if you have a niche and you only work with, gym owners, every gym owner is different in how they do their memberships and their overhead. So you should expect your CFO to dive into your business to understand how it functions, how it works. We have a whole process that we go through with all of our clients, and we ask very detailed questions to understand. So the first thing is they need to understand your goals, and they need to understand your business, because every gym is different, because the owner is different. And just because your numbers are a mess, because look, y'all, all your numbers are a mess. Sorry, business owners. I have a tool that we use that every client comes through. 100% of our clients have messy books. There's something that's not right, and it's okay. We can fix it. But don't let that inhibit you from getting the strategic, forward-looking advice that a CFO can provide. Because while someone over here is cleaning your books, your CFO can go head down and do a lot of things to get value quickly. Because if I have 3 months of bank statements and 3 months of credit card statements, there's at least 20 things that I can do to bring value to you today. And that's what the talk was about, is the 20 things that you can do as a CFO while the books are getting cleaned up. And again, with bank statements and credit cards, which you can log in right now and email me, I can do a whole lot of things and bring a whole lot of value. So as a CFO, our process, we launch our services while the team is cleaning up the books. We don't create budgets. We don't look at KPIs. We don't talk about gross profit margins from the get, because we don't have that. But we talk about a whole lot of other things: client acquisition costs, client retention, conversion rates. We talk about your AR process. We talk about your AP process. Like all of those things, plus so many more, can we as CFO come in and add value? Because I can, on the first meeting, tell you need to increase your prices and you need to look at your team compensation just by payroll reports.
Yep. They should be able to do that.
Exactly. And it does. And business owners, it's okay if your numbers aren't clean. Hopefully your CFO that you're going to work with has a team that they internally or that they outsource to that can get the numbers handled, but they can bring a lot of value to you out the gate while that process is happening. Because even in our ongoing services that we provide as CFOs, on a monthly basis, 10 minutes is how much we spend talking about your financials. 10 minutes. So if we meet with you for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours a month, 10 minutes is all you get to talk about last month's financials. The rest of the time, we're looking forward. Your historical data is important because I can't tell you where we're going if I don't know where you've been. But where you've been is 10% of what we're going to be focusing on.
Totally agree. This is what we do as well. It's basically a recap of the performance. And in fact, we send a report every month. We do the typical, like send the PDF of the financials. So you have a deliverable, a package, something to consume. Basically, we go through the first 10 minutes of any questions on that. We walk through it so they understand what they're reading. And then really we move past it. We just go, okay, we understand where we've been. We're all on the same page with how we're interpreting this. Great. Now let's go make decisions for the future. And I don't vividly remember a lot of conversations about the past, but I do remember a lot of conversations that happened after that because they were a lot of the deep diving and the strategy. And that's where people really see the value.
Yeah.
And I think that if you have a CFO and your deliverable for that is a P&L and a balance sheet, you have an accountant.
That's not a CFO.
Right. And that's hard too, because a lot of accountants are feeling pressure to offer CFO and to become more strategic and to elevate their services. But a lot of them aren't really sure how to do that. And not for the lack of trying, but they're just not with that skill set. So that's why it's not always your CPA that will solve these problems for you. I think people turn to CPAs because they think this is the financial expert that we've been told about. And it's really important to delineate those skill sets and to be looking for what Pam's describing, guys. Like, you say, I'm looking for a person who can do, and then list all these things of what they're going to be accountable to doing, as opposed to putting a label of a certification or a title on them and saying, I'm looking for a CFO. What does that mean to you? What does that person do in your business? What is the accountability you want them to have? And then maybe that's the wrong label for what you're asking for.
Exactly. And so as a CFO, part of what you might need to do is educate your client, because sometimes a client will come to us, oh, I need an accountant. Okay, help me understand, what does an accountant do, right? Like, oh, I already have an accountant. Oh, that's great. What do they do for you? Oh, they code my numbers and reconcile. Okay, well, that's pretty much just a bookkeeper, right? Like,
yeah,
so sometimes we have to educate our client on what each role actually is, because they could be asking for one thing and mislabeling it and completely not getting the value that they should be getting from somebody.
Exactly. It's ordering something off the menu, but you're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I thought it was this. It's like, actually, no. And that's the biggest thing I think too, is we have a responsibility. And so business owners, I think you have a responsibility to decipher what you want that person to do in your business, what you think your needs are. But there's a lot of responsibility on the professionals to translate and to help guide that conversation to the point where they can find the optimal solution for you, even if it's not what you think you're asking for. I think it's one of the biggest problems, I think, with business owners and the relationship with CPAs, CFOs, is they're ordering the wrong dish at the wrong restaurant,
Yeah,
and not your fault. Not your fault. The menu's hard to understand.
right. Like you say, it's alphabet soup and people are confused and all these titles are interchangeable. It's like, let's be clear. What results are you trying to get? And let me tell you who can do that.
Bingo. It's what results are you trying to get? So here's the thing. I want to hear more about Pivot Business Group, because we got to talk about that, because you have a very unique model. I want to hear about how you guys serve, all the different services you offer. You don't niche, right?
I do not, on purpose.
On purpose. So that's an interesting take too. Pam's full of hot takes, by the way. She's like, hot take, we do books. Hot take, we don't niche. But I love it. Talk to us about Pivot Business Group and the structure you have, types of clients you serve, and in the form of, if you're struggling with XYZ, this would be good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pivot Business Group was created, like I said, because I needed a job after going through a bankruptcy with a prior company. And it was started as a fractional CFO firm. We added books, then we added cleanup. And then in 2023, we added tax strategy and tax filing. So now we have a proven process that we take all of our clients through, where we figure out what's wrong with their books, what's wrong with their taxes, CFO wise, what they need. Then phase 2 is we fix it all. So that's where we do the catch up, clean up accounting. That's where we launch CFO services. That's where we create their tax strategy. And then step 3 is just ongoing maintenance services. So we do bookkeeping, we do tax, we do CFO, but our tax, we're not just going to do your tax return. We meet quarterly with you. We understand your goals. We understand your financials, and we implement tax strategies that are in alignment with your goals, because there's different tax games to play. And if we don't know what your goals are, we're going to be playing the wrong game, because most CPAs or tax professionals just say, oh, I assume you don't want to pay taxes, so we're just going to write everything off. We're going to fully depreciate. We're going to bonus depreciate. We're going to, go buy inventory, go buy a truck, all that bull crap that they tell you. Okay, well, if you're trying to get outside investment, you're trying to get a loan, you're trying to exit, that ain't the right answer. And so we try to be proactive to understand what your goals are to help you. So headcount is just at 30 right now. Our bookkeeping department, we have pods. So I've got a pod leader and then tiers within each pod. So we have 2 bookkeeping renovation pods so that the client journey is easy. The clients stay within the pod for the whole experience, super smooth for the client's engagement. I have a full-time client relationship coordinator that's making sure clients are happy, making sure they're getting responses. Because when you've got a book of business the size that we do and a team the size that we do, communication is our biggest problem. So we're trying to always just bridge that gap. I have a full-time salesperson, which has been a game changer, because I was doing all of the business development and prospecting and closing and proposal sending and chasing. And that was taking up way too much of my time, because then I couldn't sit in the CEO seat. So that has been huge. I have a full-time operations director. My model is an agency model because I have W-2s and 1099s. And the reason I did that is because I wanted A players. And so my contractors, my CFOs are contractors. My tax strategists are contractors, because I wanted A players. I could not buy my CFOs. Like, I was in person with a client this week with one of my CFOs, and I was joking with him at dinner. And I was like, what if I offered you $25,000 a month to come full-time at Pivot? He's like, no, thanks. And I was like, see, I can't buy you, because you also want the freedom and the flexibility of being an entrepreneur, because all my CFOs have clients outside of me, which is fine. But all of my CFOs make more from me than their own clients. So they're still very dedicated and focused to my system and process. And I have accountability, and I have a CFO head that makes sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. And then the tax strategists are the same. They're contractors. None of them can be bought. They all have their own book of business, but they're bought in alignment with what we're doing at Pivot because it benefits them financially. And I'm huge about work-life integration. I'm a wife, I've got 3 kids, and I don't work a 40-hour week. I have never worked a 40-hour week as an entrepreneur because I have kids. And I've got soccer and I've got cheerleading practice and we've got driver's ed and someone's got a doctor's appointment and we have braces and that's all kind of appointments, right? And so like I do not have the life that says I can work 40 plus hours, 60 plus hours at a desk because I choose to be a mom. And that's okay. And that's the same with my team. Most of my team are parents and moms. My Friday meetings with my all of my team, there's at least 1 to 4 kids on the Zoom call because they're stay-at-home moms. And so like, unless you're nursing or changing a diaper, put on your camera. Like if you need to mute yourself because the 2-year-old's throwing a fit, fantastic. Throw them some puffs and an iPad. And when it's your turn to answer a question and report your numbers, unmute, tell us what it is, and then mute again, and because Waylon's still losing his mind. It's fine. It's life. And so my model allows myself and my team to have that integration because you can be a successful entrepreneur. You can be a good partner, wife, husband. You can be a parent and be present and still make impact. Like some of my contractors, like my stay-at-home moms, make as much as their husbands working for me at home with their kids.
I love that.
I do too. And they love it. And we've got a good culture and they know they're valued. Like we've got, 2 pregnant team members right now. One dad, his wife's going to pop next week. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, what do you need? What bandwidth? Like we have the pod system and the accountability so that if someone's got to be out and it's fantastic. Okay, great. When do you want to come back? Because you can come back with your kid. Like everyone's remote, everyone's virtual. So great. What is your nap schedule? Fantastic. That's when we're scheduled meetings.
Exactly.
Like it's not that hard.
It's not, but I think it's making the effort to integrate those things as opposed to having rigidity and expecting people to accommodate all of that, which I think is the old school way of thinking and just saying, well, they're lucky to have a job, so they'll be able to accommodate whatever. And it's like, no, if you really want top talent, you got to be flexible.
And they're lucky to have a job is the old school, old white guy concept. Mm-hmm. And I have 0 for that. Like that is not how I live my life. So it is all about, look, you are a valuable, skilled person, and I have a system that you can come be part of and play in. And then you can go back and be those other things that are important to you. We had one, someone that was working full time for us, and then she needed to scale back because her kid's schedule, he was in a travel sport. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what can you do?
Exactly.
Right. And so we took some of the clients and allocated them elsewhere, but she's still here.
That's the key thing though. And it's also, it doesn't disrupt the client work. As long as the clients are not, affected by any of this, then why even, why stress out over it? And I think there's a lot of that in our profession, in our industry still, like in firms, traditional firms where they work you to the bone and people are trying to leave. And I think what you're doing is the thing people are going to be moving toward, whether they have to or because they want to. But I love that some of us want to do that just out of pure want and saying, we're humans, you're human, let's make it work. And I want you to be happy, as opposed to I want you to do whatever it takes to make the clients happy. I think both can coexist.
Absolutely. And we have happy clients that understand that our meeting window for this particular person is this time because she's a mom and that's when her toddler's not on the call. Like, mm-hmm. I'm fine with you having kids on the call with internal meetings, but not with clients. So like we had one, we've had more than one meeting that we had to reschedule because someone had to go pick up their kid from school or, someone woke up from their nap early. Okay, well, fantastic. Lorraine can pick up the meeting. You go handle what you got to handle.
Exactly. And, same thing with clients too. I think they also appreciate that flexibility that if they're parents, if they need that flexibility and they need life to happen, we go, yeah, we can absolutely reschedule. That's totally fine. What works for you, right? And, it's no sweat. And they know that they can ask for that if they need it. And that adds to the satisfaction and the value. It's just knowing that we're all part of the same team. I love that. All right, Pam, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing all these thoughts, because it's so refreshing to have other CFOs, especially women in this industry, that are really kind of marching toward the similar goal that we are, keep what you earn, and just trying to make a better relationship between clients and practitioners, and overall just a better business environment that's thriving. We're all just marching toward that same goal.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Pam.
Thank you.
When it comes to scaling your business, your core offer is the foundation of your success. If you're finding that your margins aren't exactly supporting the cost of running your business, well, it's worth taking a closer look at your pricing strategy and your direct costs to hack it and figure out what your constraint is. Sometimes all it takes is small adjustments, like fine-tuning your pricing or streamlining your expenses. These can make a huge difference. Join me for a power session and let's dive deeper into the profitability of your core offer. All the information is in the show notes below.